starting off, hey, I'm Eric. I'm half of ShantottoCast.
Oh, we're just hopping into it. We're not doing like
Yeah.
an additional 3, 2, 1. Sorry. Hi, Ed or Eric.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm Ty ShantottoCast.
Turns out that, it's his last name.
Yeah.
I'm Christopher
Legally,
McKinney,
changed it, right?
of Midwest Card Dealer.
And I'm Bill. I work at Good Games, and I plan events.
Bahamut
I was
Bill
gonna say,
himself.
you do a little bit more than work at Good Games. You kind of planned one really big event.
Yeah, but I also have done that for like 15 plus.
I was gonna
years.
say, you were saying
So-
10 years when we first met you, so it's been a couple
so
years
it
since.
Checks out.
Also,
Yeah.
this is Bill's grand return to the podcast. This is the second time he's been on.
This is true. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Pre-pandemic was the last time you were.
I was episode
around.
like what,
Yeah.
4?
4 or 5.
You're
Yeah.
at 5 now.
Yep. So Bill kind of knows a thing or two about community management and whatnot, and he proved it again. So, for those who aren't aware, Bill organized the Chicago Materia Cup fantastically, by the way. Chris
Yeah.
was our head judge, and Ty and I were on the cameras casting our games, and we're here to bring you a little bit more information about that. For you guys, people probably want to know how it all came together and whatnot. So here we are. Okay. Yeah.
Well, go.
Yeah. This is the new podcast.
Sorry.
We don't have a moderator or.
You're the
or
host. You
anything.
got a host.
Anyways.
Yeah. Nah.
Well-
So yeah, I think I'll take the reins, I guess, on this bit. Bill, how did we get the Materia Cup for Chicago?
Square Enix asked me.
Did they directly reached out, Sarah or Lily or whomever?
Yeah. So basically, the previous, I'm not sure which cup dropped out, but we ran such a big, what was that, local qualifier?
Yeah.
Or whatever they called them last year.
Well, last
Store
year,
championships.
Store Championship.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And everyone said it went well. Plus, then the Bahamut Brawl over the last couple of years. They asked if we were interested, and I said yes. It was pretty straightforward for the most part on that end.
nice. How hard was it to convince GG to kind of take on this larger event?
So at first it was a slight kind of, we had to go out of our way, we had to move a bunch of stuff, things like that, and then the tickets sold out right away.
Right.
And that became a much different conversation. Having to rent out that venue was kind of an undertaking. They were very, when you go to a larger company or just a company in general, and have to be like, hey, give us money for something and take a risk. That inherently is something difficult.
Yeah.
But they were just immediately supportive. I really didn't know what to expect. It could have gone either way. Because, again, asking somebody for, hey, can we put up this money? It's like, yeah, it's got to make sense, obviously. So I reached out to, it was probably something like 30 different venues to host day one. It being Memorial Weekend didn't help. Be like, hey, we have, at least 100, but could go up to even more bodies that we need to sit. So we had to get a big venue. That was not easy to do. Luckily, I had done a little bit of work with the venue before. Did some producing with a place that they had there. Did a couple other side things in the past. Not like a ton, but enough. Where it was basically between two different bids for venues. One was out by Midway, Game Night, who we know and love. And then this one. And I really could have gone either way. The biggest factor, because the price was very similar. It was slightly more expensive for the one that we went with. But the proximity to Good Games was the big factor. Because you don't want somebody having to travel super, super far if they're having an Airbnb or something like that. And this is an event that brings people in from a large radius of places.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the venue was great. I didn't hear anybody say a negative thing about it. And honestly, when they were trying to help us get set up for the stream, they were incredibly helpful. Just constantly asking if we needed anything or like what they could do to help or like what materials they could
Scott is
offer.
awesome.
Yeah, they were great. We really appreciated that. It was really smooth in that regard for us at least.
I've known Scott for a long time. I actually used to play like board games and different stuff with him back years ago. So it was kind of like one of those things where they're like, "Oh, this person's your product manager for the event." And I was like, "Oh, awesome!" Made everything a little bit easier.
And their coffee was good.
Doesn't surprise me that he wanted to know more about your stuff and everything. And yeah, he's great. So
awesome.
Was that the tall guy?
Yeah, with the maroon shirt.
Yeah, the maroon shirt. Yep.
Yeah,
He
was really great with us. He was extremely nice. It's funny, just from talking to him like very briefly, I could tell that like you knew him somehow. Like whenever he talked about you, he was just like so chill. It's just like, so how do you know Bill? Like he was like, it's almost like he expected everything to just go well.
I mean, he knows that I used to do events and stuff like that a lot more. So and when we first were talking, so like me and him have been talking for the last couple of weeks prior to the event. Once he was assigned to me about the event, and so I was just like, well, we need this, we want to do this, we will have this, we got to do this, plus then all the information that they already received from me, and that was I think also helpful, and so he knew a little bit of like what we were getting into.
That's fair. So then I guess, Chris, let's move over to you. How was your experience day one judging such a massive event and also being head judge for such a huge kind of...
For your first time?
Yeah, I was going to say,
judge,
first
right?
time being a head judge for such a big group of people.
For one of the biggest North American events.
Yeah.
Second biggest, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember if it would end up being second or third biggest. That was... If it was everyone had shown up, it would have been second biggest. I'm not sure if it ended up being second or third. I'd have to double check.
Sure. It was really enjoyable. A lot of running. I kind of realized after everything kind of calmed down on day one, was like, I am drenched.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The AC was supposed to be better, but it was not.
I think it worked really well. I mean, the event space was fine. There wasn't a lot of weird judge calls or anything, where I'd have to run off simultaneously. And thank God for having Joe and Gabe. Just having them on hand and being able to help answer questions and, make sure that everybody was taken care of. I was taken care of. I couldn't have asked for a better team. I mean, Bill, you knocked it out of the park. The event space,
I mean, the big thing
was
was just I wanted people that I knew.
Yeah.
Right? For judging, because it's like, I'm comfortable with you. I know you're going to do a good job.
But the choice of the event space, the location, was great. I mean, people were not crammed in like sardines. We didn't use all of the tables that we had. So it goes to show that even if we did have everybody show up that we anticipated, like, there was still breathing room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having that separated area off for the stream matches, I think worked really well, too. So you didn't have a whole lot of people walking around tables, possibly bumping into a camera or a rig that's already there, or just going, oh, I'm at the wrong table. I do like how you guys use the cards to mark who's going to go up on stream. It's a lot better than trying to shout over everybody saying, hey, table 8, you're going to come up front.
That's exactly what I didn't want to happen. I was writing out the placards, and I'm like, I think I need to do this.
Yeah, that was
I mean, we've done that in the past before where we had... Oh, sorry, Ty.
I was going to say, that was Bill's brilliant idea. The second we were setting up, he was just like, hey, we're just going to make these, you could put them out. And then Brian ended up kind of taking that responsibility. But it worked fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I remember previous events where we'd, like, have to just walk to a table and be like, hey, you guys seem like you have interesting decks. You want to be on stream? And they just, not really. Okay. Like, find another table, just walk around until you find some.
Right.
Well, I like Bahamut Brawl or whatever, right? The couple times we've done that, it was always like, well, you guys are, like, the first one you were, like, right next to the stream matches, which was not ideal.
I hated it. No, that was so stressful for us.
Oh, that was just what we had for equipment and space.
Yeah, I know. It's just trying to be quiet was so hard.
Yeah. and then the second one was probably more like that, where it was okay, we have to like work around and see who you wanted more.
Yeah.
Because I think the first one we had one camera and it was usually just the top table, right?
Correct. Yeah, and that was what made it difficult too, is because we had like I think an 8-foot cable.
Yeah.
So we had to just route it right there. And like I had to like crouch underneath the cable to get out from there. So if I wanted to go to the bathroom and get a drink, it just sucked.
We just had like a cave. A
Yeah.
little burrow.
Yeah, well, we were early in our casting stuff with that. But this was done. This was the culmination of like 5 years of experience now. So I think
something like that. You got to build it before it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've all of us together have come a long way in that of like learning how the process goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I can confirm. We were the second largest in-person North American event.
Hey.
Hell yeah.
So there's one online event that was like one person bigger or two, and then Winter Cup Wales, and then NA Nats Open. 2017.
I don't know. Sounds like bots to me. I can't trust those numbers.
Yeah.
I think we were biggest.
They could have just used AI to fill out the
Still pretty cool.
To fill out the chairs.
But yeah, back to Chris. Like, did you have any like explicitly really weird, like any judge calls that were just kind of like, wait a second, let me look that up, kind of moments?
Let me think. There was one actually where I needed to run over to my laptop and dig into rule processing, and it was really more that I drew a blank on being able to use an action ability. So you know how in some circumstances you have like the 2CP Water Scholar backup that says tap it, put it into the break zone, put it forward back into hand.
Yeah.
Loosely interpreting the rules on
Yeah.
that. There's Edgar, where you crack it, put him into the break zone, and you can play a character of cost 2 or less from your hand to the field. And the question that I got was, can you crack Edgar and put him into the break zone even if you don't have something in hand to play? And I believe you can. I ruled it as such, whether I'm right or wrong on that, to be honest with you. Because it's a hidden zone. You are not confirming, to your opponent that you have something, or what if you activate the ability to say you want to play something, and then you get that character discarded out of your hand.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't just enable that ability and then not resolve it. You just don't play anything. And I was legitimately confused on that, because I'm like, well, it is an action ability. Normally with abilities, if you find that you're in a position where you don't have like a legal target, or you can't do something, you're supposed to rewind the state and you effectively don't get to use it.
Yeah.
But in the case of Edgar, the cost is just putting him into the break zone, and if you don't have anything to deploy off it, then that portion of the stack just empties.
Yeah.
Right.
That was really the only thing that kind of tripped me up. Otherwise, it was a lot of things that I was prepared for. If your opponent plays Chaos, and let's say you have Leo on the field, and your opponent elects to give you Leo, can you do that? And the answer is yes. You can give the same forward to your opponent. It's an on-resolution ability. You giving that forward to your opponent, and if they wind up with 2 of the same forward, they just explode.
Yeah, we actually on stream found that out when a player who was running a Ranpair Warriors of Darkness list gave a forward Shantotto to an opponent who had a Shantotto in back row. We actually ran up on the stage to be like, wait, Judge, can you clarify what happens here? Because we actually never seen this before. And Brian had to like reason through it and be like, no, yeah, this is what happens. You get it. They both die.
blow up.
And we were like, oh, cool, good to know. I can cheese with that in the future.
It's a little pseudo removal, yeah.
Yeah. And so we actually had a really funny moment on stream where stream chat was even like, wait, hey, hold on a second. And we were all like, they were kind of like debating what was going on.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Especially when
So
judge
one of
calls
those high
happened.
engagement moments.
Especially when judge call happened, we'd have like 3 chat messages that are one way and 3 chat messages that are the other. And it was always just like, well, I want to just like go off of what chat's saying, but they could very well be wrong. And
Yeah.
that was definitely like an instance of that
Classic.
where the first 2 comments were just like, oh, they both break. and then the other one's just saying
Yep.
like, oh, it's no target. It's like, oh well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only limitation is you just can't give them a light or dark forward, but
Yeah.
you can absolutely give them the same thing that they already have, and it gets rid of both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cheeky. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think the day went really well for day one. Like, I have a list here. I made a little note sheet, like, the night of the first event and going into the second day, where I was like, okay, stuff that went really well was signing up for everything beforehand. It seemed like everybody had a really quick and I mean, 53 seconds we sold out.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone had trouble, finding and working the system. It was just some people were faster than others. I think keeping players informed went really well. Bill, you did a really good job of making sure that we were informed, and that when all of us got asked questions, we had either the answer or the resources to find the answer.
Well, usually what I did with you guys was before I would like post anything or do anything, I would make sure that you guys were okay with it, kind of thing. It's like, this is what I'm doing.
Yep.
I think I only did it like once, where I was like, no, that's already posted.
Yep.
I had to do it now.
Yep.
So usually it'd be either right at or right after you would get your information, so you guys would be prepared for it.
Yeah. And
So just in general.
yeah. And that was huge because I got a lot of questions. So I was like, oh, cool, wait, I can reference this.
Definitely use that FAQ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
There was constant staff communication, like during, before, and after the event. Like, that was really nice. Constantly, I think we were all checking in with each other and like just kind of poking, like, hey, you guys good? You need anything? Whatever. I'm sure somebody annoyed somebody at some point, just checking in a little too often. But I mean, hey, I'd rather have that than not.
It's me.
I mean, we felt that way kind of on day 2 when we were like kind of checking rulings and double checking stuff, and I'd usually just like nudge Brian or nudge Chris and just say like, hey, chat mentioned blank. And I think this was the first time that we've ever done like one of these events where chat pointed something out and we went to the table and it was like, no, chat's wrong. Like, it's fine. Because there's been times where chat's very eagle-eyed and we'll catch kind of like interesting interactions or someone mispaying for something. I remember back in Bahamut Brawl 2, someone tried to bounce a Typhon with Chocobo despite the fact that it wasn't a forward. So that needed a reversal, but this was the first time where it went completely smoothly. Like, nothing chat brought up ended up materializing.
Well, I mean, a big part of it is Brian is very on top of things like that, and like when we were talking about, okay, well, Stream Judge or whatever, he immediately was like on it, and the minute you thought about it, it's like, oh yeah, Brian would be a really good Stream Judge because he'll watch that and just be like, that's wrong, or like will immediately like call it.
Yeah.
And he's really good at that kind of stuff. Like, so I'm very glad that he did such a good job, and it's not a surprise.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, our judge team was great. All you guys were great to work with. It was awesome. I mean, even keeping us informed for the stream when when we pointed things out at the tables, Brian would be like, no, this doesn't work, blah, 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 here's why. And he would like look at me and explain it to me, and the players were also there absorbing it, but like he's telling me so I can word it, correctly to chat and make sure that, A, we don't look stupid, but B, that like chat gets the idea while they're watching.
Yep.
And then, as far as I understand, the Square Enix and Hobby Japan teams were really easy to work with as well. Am I wrong in that? They seemed like they were pretty cool about stuff.
For me at least, they were a lot of just, what do you like? How? Let us know if we can help you in any way. Is kind of like the biggest comment that I received from them. And they passed on some of the notes kind of thing from the previous events where it's like, oh well, this, that, a lot of it was stuff that we were already kind of like doing,
right?
But also, like, it's always good to have past notes from previous things, especially for us doing our first Materia Cup. There's obviously a lot of eyes on that. They're pretty good to work with. Yeah, they were mostly unobtrusive. They kind of said, these certain things that you have to do. A lot of it was with pricing, so pricing had to be done a very specific way, without much deviation, obviously. Obviously, it was up to us if we wanted to do side events in a specific way or things like that, but outside of that, everything was like this is what it is. You're receiving this. This is what you can expect. They were nice since we were a bigger event. They threw us, I think it was just extra judge kit, because we had to have a bigger team. So, but outside of that, I think it was pretty standard. Like, I don't know. I've never done one of these before.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Chris, have you worked any of these before, or is this like you said? I know this was like your biggest event that you've worked, and this has been like you were head judge, but like you've judged for a pretty good amount of other stuff, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I coordinate all of the locals for Final Fantasy here in Omaha. Granted, we only play at one store right now, but I facilitate those events in conjunction with one of the stores here, Cafe Monster, where we just had our local qualifier.
Nice.
So I've done locals, I've done smaller like store championships, and I've worked with James Lockwood before. That's actually how I ended up meeting Bill. Was just through mutual contacts and recommendations from Jason Toro and Lockwood.
Oh, nice.
And I've done the Florida Materia Cup. I did that last year. And when the Haven Games had their re-raise event, I was judged for that as well.
Okay, cool, gotcha. So this was you were back in the saddle pretty easy for something like this, and so this probably the experience from the logistical side was probably not that different, I'd imagine. Like, I mean, was there any communique you had with Square Enix, Hobby Japan, any of them during this? Like, was there anything extra you had to do as head judge on that front? No.
Nope.
Just
I didn't have anything from Sarah. Really, just my interaction with the local qualifier, and then just being a part of the communication team when like community spoilers and stuff comes out.
Yeah.
I do like how accessible Square Enix can be. It's very easy for us to just hop on Discord and go, "Hey, we had a question about this," and Sarah's pretty responsive.
Yeah.
I think wow, we all just tried to talk at once.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So something that did happen at the event that I don't want to say it was like it's something that was kind of unexpected for the players, but at every event or every large event that I've been to, this has happened. So there were 2 repairs during day 1. And at least from our experience, from what we could see in the booth, it didn't really affect anything. It barely even slowed anything down. But do you guys remember like what was the cause of the repairs and like how you handled that?
You want me to go on that, Bill?
Repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Repairs.
Yeah.
I heard Ranpair, the card.
No.
Too many people playing Ranpair out there.
Pairing redoing the bracket
Yeah.
for a round.
So one of those was a very specific. I can't remember. I think it was one of the top 32 players.
Yes.
Him and his opponent ended up signing the wrong side of the match slip, and so they did it backwards. And so we had to basically, it was the first one. Anyone had talked to us about it, and we hadn't. That's why Chris had a conversation with everybody right after the repair. It's this is on you, but we didn't have that conversation beforehand. So it's all right, this is the one that we are obligated to do.
Yeah.
Because it does happen. It's very easy, and so you can't in that software. You can't have an active round going, if I remember correctly, but you can have a previous round to re-edit, and so you have to so it would affect their pairings going forward, right? So I think they missed one round of having a lower bracket pairing, which meant that then their future rounds would be kind of skewed, even if they won that next one. So we had to go back, change it, repair in that specific manner, so then we could proceed, I guess.
Makes sense.
No, because it was after round 4. It was going into round 5, and we had to go back and edit 3 after 4 had been played, and it did change a couple of the matchups, but it wasn't really significant. Somebody else might have gotten the down pair, but it didn't really change anything drastically, and obviously we can't do anything about round 4 because we're not going to make everybody play it again.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we're not going to restart the event, that's for sure.
There's some tournament software out there that you
have to.
You have to repair everything.
No, I know,
and redo that. And that's what I was scared about when we were like messing with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope like everything else about the software is always very bare bones for the Final Fantasy one. I was terrified. I was like, oh my god, are we gonna have to redo that entire round?
Well, I don't know if you remember the last
Heart dropped.
local qualifier that I ran before I left the shop I used to work at. But I actually don't remember if you were there for that one. But
It's probably back when I was still traveling a lot.
Probably, yeah. But we had a situation where someone reported their damage wrong. I think it was they reported their damage wrong, and they reported that like they signed the wrong side of the slip or something. And when we tried to correct it, the software just straight up like it just gave up and freaked out. And so we had to replay the entire round that had just happened, and then we had to add a round as well because of some weird pairing situation. And we would have had I think we would have had 2 or 3 undefeateds at that point. We're just kind of speculating out, so we're just gonna guarantee that we don't have that. And so like, basically the shop bought everybody extra food. Like they're like, hey, we're gonna provide you pizza as an apology. Like that you guys have
That's something, I guess.
Yeah, burn an extra 40 minutes to to be here or whatever. And the rest of the event was smooth, but I was just when I heard repair, I'm like, oh crap! Like I just had a war flashback.
Everyone took it with stride though.
Yeah,
I was. You never know when you announce something like that, how the crowd's gonna take it. I think I did it kind of like with a shtick. Like I was like, hey, repair.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, which I think is just like, yeah, it's a repair, guys. And then everyone's just like, oh crap. It was like that guy has an attitude. Yeah. I don't know. That was my hope.
I didn't hear a resounding boo, so I think you're okay.
Yeah, they were cheering. It was weird.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I mean,
people like Bill. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with like repairs. Like they suck, but the thing is, if you keep it, I think one of the things that I really want to commend the team on is like you guys were able to keep it just so fast. Like the repair happened and then it was done. Like because there's times when everyone's getting comfy, everyone's like already getting ready to play, and then it's just like, hey guys, someone did this, like repair, and then them like explaining it causes it to last longer. So the fact that it was just like, hey guys, we're doing a repair, like big fun announcement, and then it was just done. Like it, because there was even a second one, wasn't there? Like going into round 7.
Yes.
Round 8?
Yep.
Well, so for the first one, we were lucky because the player got to us fast enough. Where it didn't be like not everyone had fully settled yet, which I think helped a lot. Obviously, it's annoying, but the second one, was that because we just printed out the wrong sheet because the software didn't like proceed.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, there was one where
I think
like,
that's what
wait,
it
that's
was.
round 6. Hold on, and like.
No, that was the
those
rankings.
standings. Yeah, standings.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. That was the standings.
So
Yeah.
it was.
What? Do you remember what?
We keyed in the wrong winner. Like it was our error as organizer.
Okay. I did not remember what it was.
We will admit to that.
So look, I make mistakes all the time.
Yeah,
I'm very lucky we had good people here because like there would have been more mistakes and more issues because I'm a flawed human being.
We're human. Yeah, we're all human. It's whatever. I mean, look, I actually don't mind repairs so much as a player because last year I remember in Milwaukee there was some error that happened. I don't know whose side it was on, but like we ended up repairing like in the middle of resolving mulligans. But the guy that I had been originally paired with, it turns out he's also Polish. And so he and I were kind of like bonding over like, hey, wait a second. I can pronounce your last name. You can pronounce mine. That's awesome. And like we just joked about it. And that was just really funny. Like you can just meet somebody you never would have met otherwise. Yeah. I find
fair.
anywhere I can to, make a friend.
Yeah. Shouts out to Mataush.
Yeah. He's super cool dude.
Yeah. He was also at Materia Cup.
Yeah. I mean, he's been in a lot of events lately. He's a cool, funny dude. Saw him at the Winter Cup as well. Had a quick chat with him, lent him some cards. But yeah, so I think we could probably move on to like the it's a good segue into like what's the meh stuff that happened at the event for all of us. For me, it was
audio.
Audio kind of that's in a lower standing for me actually a little bit. I was gonna say mostly that we had glare and lighting problems that we did as good as we could with the stream.
Day 1 or day 2?
Both, but less so day 2. It was mostly day 1. And
day 2, you're kind of in the back, darker corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean for like the cards and stuff. Yeah, day 2 we were in the back in the dark corner. Yeah, and I made that jank paper.
That's always hard without diffusers, right? Like that's gonna have some of that.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely gonna look into hardware or something to rig up so I can block light if I have to, diffuser or otherwise. Just because those high lights overhead made it hard to get an angled anything.
Look, if you do more streaming at card shops like that, there's a lot of that kind of.
I know,
lighting,
yeah. So, but no, day 2 was better again because I could build. I'll put a picture on camera because I took a few. I'll edit this in, but like, I made this jank paper setup with the actual little standing placards for tables.
Yeah, I saw that.
I wove a bunch.
I was wondering what that was
together.
about. I thought it was like a privacy curtain.
No, it was legitimately like the light was just so borked in that one spot, and we couldn't move the camera anymore. Like, it was the camera's as good place as it could get. So I was just like, I'll just use some Scotch tape and whatever cardboard I have, and I just made jury rig this little wall. And I was like, hey players, please don't touch this. Just don't. And they were pretty cool about it.
Fair.
But yeah, that was kind of funny. I don't think we ever really got to sit much on table 2 anyway on day 2.
Yeah, day 2, I think we cut to it for all of like 10 minutes. People,
yeah,
that's the thing is when you have 2 out of 3 games and people are like allowed to think more, they're a lot more liberal about using the time. Because we were able to cut to game 2 when we had Dory.
Yeah, we had Dory's game and we had Jeff and Sam Prime at one point on table 2. But in my notes here, I was taking notes last night and Sunday night, and like just looking at all these top 32s where I'm like, okay, table 1 was the only one here, table 1's the only one we saw there. Oh hey, top 16. Okay, we saw yeah, this one had table 2, and like that was it really. Until we got to actual final round. We just sat there for a long time watching that game, which to be fair was a really good 2 out of that was a good best of 3 that they ended up playing.
Yeah, it was just so long. It was so long.
Yeah. Very.
I felt bad because Tori actually kind of came back into the cave because I think people were talking about in an interview. It's like, we can't do that. Like, we got to be out of here.
Yeah, we would have loved to do that with both players, honestly, but we had to be out an hour before or something, so it was just panic, pack all our crap and go.
Was that the day 1?
That was day 2.
Yeah, day 2. Well, yeah, both days.
Yeah,
both days were just we gotta get out of here, guys. Yeah. Because those were at least for myself, those roughly 12 hours both days straight. So
yeah,
it was. Obviously there were long days. Day 1 was we had to get out because of the venue.
Right.
We had paid for I think till 6 total, and we were there till almost 8. Yeah. So an extra 2 hours of venue rental time is not something I want to really have to take more of.
Fair.
Especially going into depending on how the venue does it, where it could be the minute you're over that hour, you get an extra hour time tacked on or whatever. Yeah. I didn't want to risk that.
Yeah.
And then day 2 was my staff had left. There was still a handful of people around, and we just kind of needed to get out of there. What you should do is ask them if they want to come onto this podcast and talk about their win.
Yeah.
As a post-event interview.
Oh yeah, no, we'll totally reaching out to probably, honestly, I think we could probably do more than just the top 2 if we manage to get in contact with people. The only other thing that I had to kind of I guess just kind of a groan, not a from day 2 was the back room was really busy, and later on in the afternoon and evening trying to be quiet while also I watched the video back and we were cutting in and out quite a bit because the software wasn't tuned for being so quiet and so up to the mic.
Yeah.
And it was almost like ASMR levels. It was really janky. But people still said the stream went well, so.
Part of it was me or one of the other judges or something like that would have to come into the room and do something on the software or do something else or whatever was going on or. there was at one point, I think one of our other staff people came in, was like talking about something, and it's just like, guys, like they're in the middle. So it became a much harder thing to manage as the day went on, for sure.
And like it was just a space constraint. It wasn't like you just decided, hey, be back here with me, like I'm gonna be in and out all the time, and like you guys were doing your
We want to
thing.
fit as many people as we could. You saw how tight it was.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like you guys did the best you could with it. You guys were all being respectful and courteous about it. It was just an unfortunate circumstance. So there was that. But like any of those moments for you guys?
Chris?
Honestly, I really don't have a lot as far as things that were meh. You know, looking at day one, the way that you had people flow into the building, I thought was fantastic. There wasn't really any issue with that. Really, my only meh remarks are going to be more towards the tournament software. I wish we could bring back tabletop.to.
What's wrong with the table software?
Please stop, Tyler.
You know, but I'm also I'm used to the Square Enix software, so I know how to use it. It doesn't bother me. There's little nuances that you have to pay attention to, like printing out your match slips. You have to click match slips and open it in a new tab to actually pull out your slips. It'd be nice if they would allocate in table order and not just whatever conjunction, because it seems like it would do like 10s, 40, 60, and then
it doesn't make sense.
Single digits, 20, 50. Weird.
There is a pattern.
Yeah,
I don't know what
see
it
there
is,
was a pattern,
but there's definitely a pattern.
I don't know. I guess I haven't studied it enough yet to see. Because that's the only thing that really
it's not collated at all.
An efficiency for us, you know.
Yeah.
It would make launching between rounds a lot faster, and we probably would have been able to stick a little closer to our time frame. But you know, those are things that you account for.
My biggest thing that I would love is the like a scrolling like player like matchup sheet, because every other tournament software has that in some capacity, and it's crazy running a 160 person event or 150 person event, or honestly anything over even like 30 without a scrolling software.
Yeah, being able to like cast it up to a TV and just let people wait till they see it. Like, because otherwise that was one of the tiny little complaints people had, was like, even though you guys posted like 4 different locations of pairings.
I mean, you have all those people going to those spots, and there's a ton of them.
Exactly. I mean, the more people you add, the more chaotic it gets. And we saw that at the Winter Cup in Raleigh, of just like, oh yeah, pairings are up, and it just swarms, and then just you never know where you are, so you have to hope somebody tells you where you are later.
Yep.
Yeah, and like my only other complaints really are not so much complaints as much as oh wait, my thing physically broke. One of my capture cards broke. My little USB, one of those guys broke.
Oh, that's sad.
It's $20. I got my use out of it, definitely. It's okay. And then my little sound barrier frame thing, that also kind of broke. So I'll be replacing that. But that was bound to happen. Again, $20. I got my use out of it. I'm not really complaining. It's an excuse to get a better one. So I'm always looking to improve my setup. It's just, I feel bad buying more stuff if I have something that's currently still functional. So it's like, well, these are broken beyond my capability to repair. Therefore, here we go. I'm definitely still going to be making improvements to the stream setup and stuff, because if and when we do another one of these big ones, I want to be even more ready than we were. So
likewise.
Yeah.
I think as far as being a judge, one of the things I guess I want to be better prepared for is like deck checks on day 2. Making it a requirement. I didn't want to hassle the players and be like, sort out your deck. But as we're going through 32 decks, if there wasn't 5 of us going through, we weren't going to be done going through them on time if players had they sorted out their decks. It doesn't have to be in order, but at least get all the cards clumped together that needs to be your 2-ups, 1-ups, whatever.
So you can just see what's there.
Sort those out and make it a little faster. The only other thing that I could remark on with the event itself is just going into day 2 with a top 31 and not a top 32.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was
I
an
mean,
unfortunate circumstance.
There's nothing we could have done to that.
I understand. We can't predict if players are going to do that, but maybe that is just a PSA to the viewers out there that if you have no intentions of showing up day 2, maybe let the tournament team know.
Yeah.
So we can better plan.
Yeah, just because it affects other people. So like
It does.
Yeah, that's the only
Giving
part
somebody
of
a free
it.
win,
Right. Yeah, I mean
huge.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, something else I took a note on is this hit me this morning. I didn't actually even register that KP would do a video about the event. So I'm just like, I'm casting, I'm doing my usual stuff, and then I wake up and I see the video. I'm like, oh yeah, he does that, huh? Okay. I'm nervous, even though like I didn't expect him to say anything bad. It was just one of those like, okay, we're on the spot now. So, but no, he said a lot of good things, and I was very, very appreciated, and he gave us a little shout
I'm
out.
about halfway through that video.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I still need to finish it, but it's funny because I had the exact opposite reaction where I was like, hell yeah, KP covered it. I get to hear KP talk about this too. I mean, even
I saw the thumbnail.
Yeah, even Winter Cup, the stack was there, which I'm also expecting the stack to make a video about Winter Cup as well. And I remember they talked to one of the guys about the matchups, and he talked about me, and he's just like, yeah, he misplayed, and it was just like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is that they mentioned me as well at that point. They were like, this dude got me to 3 cards in deck with 13. Like, what's he doing? Oh, there was another thing was I felt really stupid on stream. I mixed up the stack guys with TCG Tacos.
No.
I was just like Tacos was in chat, and I'm like, I said something, and I was like, wait, oh god, it's too late to roll that back. Let's just pretend I said nothing. So that was funny, but no, I would 100% do this again. I had a great time working the event with you guys.
Yeah, I think on my end, it was definitely an overall success. There are definitely things I could do better. Day 2 and side events and things like that. I am aware of definitely some issues and stuff that we could do better. I think I packed them all kind of too close together. I should have spaced them out a little bit further. We last minute switched one of the F5 events, which again, hindsight, should have been one standard, one F5 already. And I had thought about that prior to the event. And I wanted to do it. And then I posted 2 F5 events. And I just kind of doubled down. And then Brian, day of, was like, hey, we should change one of those. I was like, yeah, you're right. Because, like, mentally I was like, I already did that. And I was like, no, I didn't.
Oh, crap.
There's definitely a couple other things that I could look back on for day 2 and things like that. But the biggest one is just management of space. I should have spaced things out a little bit differently. Maybe started one of the side events a little bit earlier. And then gave a little more breathing room to some of the other stuff. But that's stuff we could do better next time for sure. And I'm sure there's other complaints. I'm sure I'll ruminate on it. I'm my biggest critic most of the time. So...
Yeah, and then Chris, as head judge, is there anything you would do differently, like maybe day 1, day 2, or in particular, in regards to like how did the side? Actually, yeah, I should shift gears first. How did side events affect your judging stuff? Were you relegated to any specific stuff on day 2, or were you just kind of covering it all, or what?
So with day 2, I handled the top 32, and then Gabe absolutely knocked it out of the park. That's going to be my buzzword for this podcast. He did an awesome job facilitating the side events, keeping people moving, calling out match pairings, and making sure that people were where they needed to be. There were a couple moments where it got a little noisy, and I was afraid that people were going to start, complaining. Because obviously everybody's different. Some people can't focus when there's a whole bunch of excess noise, but that's obviously great for you guys because then people sitting on stream, they don't hear you guys talking on the back row. When we got to finals, like you said, you had to back your voices down quite a bit to where the mics were barely registering you because you don't want them to hear you talking about their plays. So I think they went well. I actually wanted to ask Bill, How do you feel about the amount of side events that you did? Do you think you had too many, the right amount?
I think I probably would have. Looking back at it, I like the quantity total, but I think I would have spaced them out differently throughout the day, or like earlier and later, and just in different ways. I think we had kind of almost the right amount. For at least so many people showed up. It was raining in the early morning of the day, or people might have gone out. I don't really know, but I was happy with the amount of events we had to facilitate the people. I was upset with how packed it got, because it sucks having to like be like, hey guys, you have to move because we have to put this other thing in or transfer stuff around. I think, and I feel bad for Gabe because he had to manage a lot of that.
Sure.
Because earlier in the day, there's a lot more stuff going on for, us in the back room and things like that, because, it was facilitating much of that. So he ran point on it, and he was having to facilitate, what was it? Like, at one point it was 2 or 3 events almost at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Square Enix software, the tournament software, kept deleting our events.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff that was going on. And so without, being able to like post stuff up on the TV, at one point both of the printers, we had 2 printers at the shop, both of them were down. So like we couldn't print stuff out, we couldn't do other stuff. It was kind of just like a super big headache. And I, again, feel really bad for Gabe having to run around and manage all that. At one point, I think it must have been around like 3:30, maybe a little bit later, I don't remember. We were trying to get the F5 event. Everything got pushed back a little bit as the day went on. It kept kind of getting pushed back a little bit more and more. Again, I also feel bad about that. The F5 event in particular, I just was like, I'm just gonna do it. I got to do it. He's running a bunch of other stuff. I can't make him do another thing. And so having the 2 of us work in tandem was definitely made it a little bit easier, where it's like, hey guys, listen for this. Mm-hmm. And we were able to keep everything kind of flowing. And I think, I could tell there was like a little bit of relief kind of thing, when it was like, oh, I don't have to handle that one. And then he's still glutton, for having to do more stuff. He still stepped in and was just like, oh yeah, here's these tournament results from this table or this other stuff, and kept kind of popping in and putting stuff in too. So he's a beast. He just keeps going and like rolling with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, Bill, you picked a crack team of everybody to be involved here. I mean,
well, so Gabe was the only person on the team that I hadn't interacted with prior, really. Because, Joe he's up from Wisconsin. He comes down to our locals all the time. We've known him for a long time. Yep. Last Bahamut Brawl, he, on his own volition, stepped in and was like, hey, I'm going to help judge this. Without prompt, without expectation, without anything, and was just like, I'm going to help out. Mm-hmm. And I know he does an excellent job. He's very level-headed, able to answer things concisely and with care to the players who are involved. And so he, I've known him for years now, from just events and stuff too, back before. Chris, you've come to our events. I know you've judged Materia Cups, other stuff. Both of you, I think it was you and Joe were the ones I presented with the option for head judge, just due to your experience and things like that. And you could tell us how you two decided, because I left it up to you to deliberate on which one of you took over. But I've known you enough, and I trust you from just coming out and being you're a great guy, dude.
Thanks. You are too.
Thanks. And yeah, so Gabe was the only person who I had like really interacted with. Yeah. And so he went above and beyond what I expected, because I knew he was going to do a good job just from other people telling me how great he was. Mm-hmm. But again, originally he was supposed to be like one day, and then we had somebody drop out from the team, and then he stepped in. So
he was definitely an asset that was needed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So before going into the head judge deliberation, actually, it's not. Joe had really just messaged me and was like, hey, how do you feel about it? He's like, would you want to do it? He asked me if I wanted to, and then he presented it as, if you're not comfortable with it, because I don't know if you have head judge, he's like, I'll willingly do it. He's like, but if you want to, he's like, that's awesome. He's like, and I will support you. You're very, level-headed, use good judgment. He's like, I think no matter who does it, like, we have an awesome team. And I agree. Whether that was me or, having the flexibility of all of our knowledge sets. Anybody need to go off and use the bathroom. You need to disappear for a few, knowing that nothing was going to happen if someone had to step out of the room real quick, and just keep everything moving on pace. I met Gabe last year at Nationals. That was the first time that I had ever, interacted with him, and I was not ready for the amount of energy that he brings with him and that he carries.
Yeah, he's a very active guy.
He was great. I loved him, but
he brightens up that room, and he's just he's
super animated.
Yes, very animated, very loud and goofy, and just an awesome person to be around. And he makes these things.
He
fun.
goes in there.
He does.
Yeah.
He really surprised me because this was my first time ever meeting him, and to just hear him just going off and just cracking jokes. It was so fun.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what I expected, but it was way better.
Yeah, well, he stayed at my house, and I had never met him before either. So I remember we were talking as all the organizers and stuff. I was like, yeah, if anybody needs a place to stay, hey, I got open places at my house, whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, sure, let's do it. Yeah, please. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then he gets to my house, and the whole weekend he doesn't stop thanking me, nonstop. From the moment he got to my house, to the moment that he left the shop, just nonstop being so thankful and appreciative, and just making sure it's very, very clear that he appreciated it. But he had some buddies who also needed a place to stay last minute, so I was just like, whatever, I have my house worked, let's just do it. So they came over, and we stayed up till I think 1:30, 2 a.m. the night before day one.
Jeez.
Of them just grinding games and practicing, and he was just so enthusiastic about helping them prepare, because he's like, well, look, once that event starts, I can't do anything. I want to be sure that you guys can do what you do on your own.
That's great.
Yeah, and it was really nice to see how he was doing that, the same way we do for our locals, right? So yeah, he was a great guy, good, fun person to hang out with when we were in the evenings, just chilling, doing whatever. So yeah, I think that's everything I had really to talk about, unless we want to go over each round, play by play from day one all the way to that final match between Tori and Sam. I got all those notes if we want to do it.
Alternatively,
I don't know if you have the time for it.
Yeah.
I say we're already coming up.
I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying we have to.
Yeah. All right. So 2 last questions for both of you guys. So number one, one specifically for Chris, one for Bill. For Chris, how busy were you? How many judge calls were there really across the 2 days? Obviously this is a huge event. I'm sure that you guys ran into them left and right, but was it overwhelming? Was it less than you expected?
It was about what I thought. You're averaging 1, maybe 2 calls per round. And I don't want to go into this event without a single judge call. We're hungry. We want to be able to answer stuff and get to interact with players and, help them understand the game better, or just making sure that cards are resolving the way that they're supposed to. Nothing overwhelming, nothing underwhelming. I thought it was just right.
Perfect. And then for Bill, how you feeling? Are you good, bud? I mean, it was a hell of an event, and I told you at the event, I said in a Facebook post, but the Midwest is kind of known for hosting good events and top tier events, and I think a lot of people would agree with me if I said this is one of them. You kind of joined that echelon. But now that it's all over and you're seeing people's reactions to it, just at the end of the day, how are you feeling?
It's really cool to get so much positive feedback. Me, as a pessimistic optimist, I don't believe it. Yeah. I can't take positive things like that half the time. So it's still really cool for how overwhelmingly positive people have been with it, or they're just not telling me. So it's one or the other. But I'm very grateful that people enjoyed it so much. We put I think we did a really good job, and there was so much work that went behind trying to get everything right, planned, and just get everything going. The 3 days before the event, we were packing all those prize bags. We had weeks of just like, well, do we do this or do we do this? Do we do this? Do we do this? And it was a lot of work. Obviously, like to do an event well, to do anything of this size well, you have to think of a lot of outcomes.
Yeah.
To be ready for it, and then also be good at reacting, because at an event you're gonna undoubtedly have something you did not expect or were not planned for or whatever. I'm grateful that we have people like Brian and Joe and Chris who are super knowledgeable with the game and how it's supposed to work and what the expectations are, right? Like I'm only as good as the people who are around me to make me and us planning it better, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing the best we can with what we got, and I'm grateful that we had good games who were very enthusiastic and helpful with the whole thing. They didn't have to be as invested as they were, but there's just another thing that helped ease of everything by a significant factor, and we were really able to like when we got that venue right, it was like we were able to like be like, okay, now what can we do to like make this a memorable experience or better? And honestly, if I didn't have to rent a venue, the event would have been very different, obviously, but like I could have done a lot more, right? It was something like 40 or 50% of all of the entry costs went into something like this, right? I think it was closer to 40. It was a significant number regardless. I don't know off the top of my head where, it's like, oh yeah, everyone would have gotten probably some more packs and some other stuff. And we did everything we could with what we had. And it was, I think nobody could say we didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I don't know.
especially
Again,
after we sold out all those tickets and then you found the venue after and then was like, okay, I'm going to open up more. And I think that not only surprised people, but also gave a good chunk of people a little bit of hope that they were like, wait, I can still get in. I really want to do this. And like, I'm excited for it. And it kind of, renewed a lot of people's enthusiasm for this event.
So with this, there's two things on that note. Prior events, obviously, taking in such a cost to rent a venue, right?
Yeah.
That was obviously, like I said, it was very expensive.
Yeah.
Very, very expensive. I don't expect most game stores who are hosting something like this to do that. I didn't expect good games to be willing to do that. Obviously, they know my background in events. Back when I first started there, was like I'd be there like a week out of a month and just be gone the rest of it for travels for work. But they knew, they understood, they were kind about it, and they listened to me when I said, hey, I think we could really make something cool here. And so I don't expect most stores to take on a cost associated with that, especially when you don't know, right? Like, you could just sell 20 more tickets or something. And luckily I had enough interaction with people for them to say, hey, me and like 6 of our team didn't get in, or whatever that number was. And so that obviously gave us kind of an idea of like, okay, well, we could probably sell, even if we sell, 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever that number is more, we could still do something with this. Whether or not it's, profitable or successful or whatever it is, we can fit more bodies in the door. And then 2 is, and this was a big chokehold point that I don't like having to do, is we only get issued so many of those Miss Dragon promos, right? This is an issue here. This is an issue at another event where not everybody is able to get one.
Yeah.
That's really hard. You're saying, hey, give me $45 for this event, and what do I get back in return, right? And so usually that answer is, you went out to this special event, got this special card, and regardless, that's what you get, right? That was the threshold before. Probably it was just this year, because before it was always just like, yeah, the event's just capped at 100, and like there would be tickets for maybe a little while, or one of them would sell out really fast, but it wasn't as big of an issue as it was this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more interest, I think,
Yeah.
after, you know, the throttled events from prior years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think your
Yeah.
reputation preceded you as well. So, like, people trusted you to you know, hold this event and do well, because we'd done Bahamut Brawl, Summoners Cups, the reunion events. Like, people know your name in Final Fantasy.
I mean, some people do, yeah. We have some really great people who, you know, were did push for us to get this Materia Cup. People who were saying, hey, these people should try and do it, or just do whatever it is. But, you know, so those prior events were, what, like 60 people or whatever it is, 30
Yeah.
people, depending on which one it was. And it's just like, that's a huge difference, right? That's
Oh, yeah.
completely other level of event you have to run. And so, you know, I think most places probably could run a Summoners Cup or a whatever it is, right? Pretty successfully or pretty well. But taking on potentially, you know, 150, 160 people, you have to kind of be able to handle stuff on the fly and be able to do that. But you also have to plan ahead of time to do things. Like, I think I heard a lot from the Florida Cup, where it was a lot of just Gabe and Toro handling like so much of that, right? They were left to have to handle it, and there wasn't as much communication as they wanted, obviously. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to make sure it's right, and some places are good about that, some places aren't about that, and it super varies.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, but the consistency you've held good events is definitely something that, you know.
I like to think so.
Yeah, you've done a really good. I mean, look, we've loved working with you, so I mean, that's an additional
Well,
layer
good.
to it, you know, right? Like everyone in the community likes you. that
You're
I'm aware
biased.
of.
What are you-
I am very biased, but you know what? Fuck you anyway. I'm having a good time. I think
Dang.
you did a good job.
Hey, this is a family-friendly podcast.
I'm the
I
most
thought.
Is
biased
it?
man there is. You were one of my groomsmen, and even I would have been hypercritical of this if this whole event fell apart.
Yeah, honestly, I think we screwed up a little bit in our community by not kind of urging you sooner to get a bigger venue. I think we kind of trickled it in a little too gently of like, hey, maybe we'll, and then it was like, hey, day before I was like, hey, I really want to say it here, and then you were like, dude, little late. I'm like, I know, I screwed up. That's my fault.
Yeah.
Hindsight's
If-
2020.
Yeah.
Well, also with an event like this, with it being kind of, I guess you could say proven for us at Good Game Chicago. I don't think the tickets. I don't think we would have done a venue beforehand.
Yeah.
Without having those tickets sell out that fast.
That's fair.
I think if you know, if it had been even a couple hours, we probably would have been like, it's just gonna stay that way. But it sold out like, what was it, 2 minutes, something like that.
Minute, a single
yeah,
minute.
53 seconds.
You know, some of that could have. That's what people said. I think some of that was throttling, right? So like some of it was everyone got on, and then people checked out, and the way that the website might handle that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was actually 53. I think it was like 2 minutes, but 53 seconds was when people were starting to be like, okay, well, I can't get a ticket anymore.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. Which is humbling. I think doesn't hurt that Chicago is a very centric city. So we have two airports, right? We have it was on a holiday weekend, which isn't like Memorial Day is obviously an important holiday, but it isn't, you know, Christmas or Thanksgiving or 4th of July or whatever, where you specifically have plans with family and whatever else going on. So it's one of those ones where a lot of people have off, so they can have an extended weekend in a big city that they didn't have to spend a crazy amount of money to get. I think the hardest thing was finding like a place to stay.
Yeah.
For this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I offered so many people in our group chat to like, hey, if anyone needs to stay with me, like, please, I have, you know, it'll be free. It didn't cost you anything. just making sure, you know. But yeah, I mean, you bring up good points. It's, you know, there's a lot of things that came together to make this event what it was, besides the people, even though the people were ultimately what made it great.
I mean, people are what make every event great.
True.
You can't have an event without people.
Yeah.
And you can't have a community without people.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's sometimes where I start thinking about an event, and you have to think well, does the community want this? Do you want to do this? You know, there's a lot of things you have to discuss or at least think about before you just say, hey, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's been a couple times where it's like, oh, do I want to run another Bahamut Brawl now or soon or whatever, or another type of event with another community? And it's always, the answer is sometimes maybe, sometimes it's no, sometimes it's we need something to kind of ignite it, or sometimes it's just we have low attendance right now and the community has to sit or grow or whatever that means with that.
Right.
So I think we've seen a distinct growth in the Chicagoland area. I think our store in particular has been on a downturn of late in terms of just like large communities. I mean, we get okay turnout sometimes, but it's not like it used to be.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, with a lot of us moved out of the city, it makes I mean, you know exactly how it's just harder. But like you said, the Chicagoland community, like the suburbs, is doing really well.
They've been getting good numbers.
Yeah, and we've been very thankful for that because I mean it gives me a chance to play, it gives me a chance to get better at things, but I get to meet a lot more people. And that's something I wish I had been able to do at this event is like get out of the booth and kind of talk to people more because there are a lot of faces and names here I never really got to chat with before, and I never got to go to a lot of those bigger events until the last couple of years. So that's why this year and last year I've been trying to do that more. And just meet more of the community, these names that I see on, different Facebook, YouTube, whatever, that I'm like, I know you, but I don't know you. It's like a very parasocial relationship where you don't know who I am, but I think you're cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably also my biggest regret is I didn't get to talk to people or spend time around them as much because especially there's a handful of people where I'm like, yeah, this person has come out to a bunch of our Bahamut Brawls or other stuff like that where there's usually a little bit more breathing time in between space, in between stuff because it's smaller. It's not 8 rounds.
Yeah.
And so like having just the interactions with people was something that I wish I got to have a little bit more of this time around, but I think we did all we could with the time we were allotted. There was a lot of like just numbers and spreadsheets and trying to get things printed out last minute or other stuff that like I came home and I immediately did more work after day one for an extra like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just trying to make sure things were perfect for the next day to get things going, right? So
yeah, it's actually something I'm jealous of you for, Chris, because you were on the judge floor. You're getting to see these guys that you're either buddies with or you kind of want to be buddies with or whatever. You're getting to interact with people and all that.
You kind of live vicariously through the players. That's one of the things that I tell people when they're like, you're okay with judging, like you haven't qualified for Nats, you've done more judging than you've actually played, and honestly it's a different level of fun, right? You still get to be a part of the excitement and not a part of the stress. You get to see everyone. Like, people know you. They go, oh, hey, you judged last year. We saw you at Nats. And, there's bro hugs and just everybody having a grand whole time when you go to these events. But you also get to stand up at the top table and go, I'm really happy I'm not on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And
yeah.
you also
The
learn. I mean,
yeah.
I learned a lot watching other players, too, that have refined the way that they play a specific deck, and you might see plays that you wouldn't normally think of or go, oh, that's a really weird interaction. And that's why he won, So I'm taking that as well because I'm growing as a player just by getting more experience and reading more cards.
Yeah.
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 Did you at least get dinner with some of the guys? Did you at least get like dinner with some of the guys that you didn't get to play with or anything?
I did.
Okay.
After day one, the 2 locals that I went with, we went to AJ's Public House.
Nice.
Off of like Ashland and Grace, I think is where it was, and some of the Kansas City and surrounding area people were up there. Wiseman, KP, Cody Snodgrass was up with their group.
Nice.
Amethyst and Mike Powell were there, and we all just sat at adjacent tables and yucked it up over drinks, and it was good, because I see people like Amethyst and Mike, but I've never actually sat down and had a meal with them until this weekend. So it was cool to get to know them on a little more personal level outside of the game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's what this is all about. You know, at the end of the day, too, just bringing people together and having a good time. So I'm glad at least somebody got to do that, right? Because like all these other groups, you know, they're all spread out and everything. So that's great. That's nice.
We did a
remember
shout
those
out
with
for
them-
Matt Rice. We did that too in the middle of the bar.
Nice.
Took I pulled my
Awesome.
phone out and everybody like waved and said hi to Matt. We sent it off to
Aw.
him.
Yeah, I really wish he could have been there.
That's awesome.
No, we wish he could have been there.
We got to do that right now, I think, right?
Hell yeah.
He was such a big part of planning this event. He was constantly saying like, just giving us positive reinforcement and also like guidance of just like this is how this should be done or this is what's expected or whatever. Whatever qualm we had with like, oh, do we do this or whatever? He was just like, you guys got this. It's easy. You got this. Like,
Yeah, his level
always,
of encouragement.
always there. His
level of encouragement is just off. It's just off the charts.
Yeah, Matt Rice was like the force
yeah.
ghost of this entire procedure. He was just kind of in the
Yeah,
background, just like
he's-
watching, making sure everything was okay. Even though he couldn't be there in
Wise
person,
Yoda,
he did
yeah.
so much work.
Oh yeah, he was a huge part of it and invaluable to the team in both this event and the last Bahamut Brawl, and just in general, he became part of just the team. Even though he's not around or here or whatever it is, he's just like, let's do this. It's great.
Yep.
It's awesome. He's always like, that's awesome, or we'll tell you exactly how it needs to be, and it's awesome. I am very sad that he wasn't able to make it last minute. Excellent human being, and hopefully I get to see him soon.
Yeah.
We're gonna get tattoos.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Matt.
yeah, thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Happy
Love you.
birthday.
Yeah.
That's such. Oh my god. Anyway,
I think on that note, is there anything else for you guys that you want to talk about, or
I
is it
think
time to wrap?
I'm good.
I think it's time to wrap. This was. I mean, if we were in day 2, we'd be in time right now. So I think now is a good time
Yeah.
to wrap up.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well,
Cool.
thank you guys for joining us.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bill, for pitching the idea of getting on a little call and chatting and stuff, because we would have taken forever
Well,
to do
but it was just like you couldn't do an interview after the event,
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, we should do something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we would have taken forever. We would have gotten there eventually, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, you would have asked me like 3 months later.
Yeah, right.
I'd be like, dude, I don't remember anything.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks.
I've got a memory of a goldfish. Once something's done, I don't remember things anymore.
Dude, that's how adulting works, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no,
That's true.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you taking the time to be here. Of
course.
And Ty, I'll see you probably, next week or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll see you guys around. I love all of you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.